Hello and welcome back to my channel. We haven't had a lot of reading this year and not a lot of updating, and I'm actually really sad about that. The problem is I've been wanting to sit down and read a lot and I haven't had the time to sit down and read a lot, so I've been relying on audiobooks, but I'm not in the mood for audiobooks. I still love audiobooks very much, and it's where most of my reading is getting done, but it's just not happening. And you know what? It's fine. To be a reader, you don't have to read a lot. It's just I've read a significant less amount this year than I have any other year before. I haven't even hit 50 yet. I'm like in the 40s. But I figure, why not jump on the trend that everybody else jumps on this time of the year and do the mid-year book freakout tag. It's just a way to let you know what I've been reading up until this point. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to talk about everything that I've read, not in this video anyway, but basically there are questions in this tag, and you're meant to answer them with books that you've read throughout the year. So that's what we're doing. If you want like a more detailed, like everything I've read so far this year video, let me know. I'll probably do it anyway, but it's nice to know your thoughts and opinions. Like I said, I think I've read like 46 to 49 books so far this year. I'm hoping to up that in the next couple of months. I don't think we're going to hit our goal. Our goal is 225, but never say never. We never know. I might surprise me. So let's start with question number 1, which is, what is the best book that you have read so far this year? And I've read a couple of 5 stars, but one of them honestly is my favorite of the year so far. I don't see anything else beating it, and that is Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. This is about Scotty, who isn't married. She's actually recently divorced, doesn't really talk about it very much, and it just was a really hard time for her, and something that she's still working through. But she works in this office where everybody else is married, and it kind of just seems like, in a way, it's just like a big marriage cult. Like, the only way to fit in is to be married and to just like do fun things on the weekends, and she really wants to be part of that. So she ends up telling her boss that her and her husband have plans for the weekend, and then somebody else in the office kind of calls it out, and he's like, you don't even wear a wedding ring, like, you're not married, you don't need to lie. And she's like, actually, I'm not wearing a wedding ring because me and my husband are going through a really hard time, so thanks for pointing that out. Anyway, her boss ends up taking her aside and saying, hey, my husband's a marriage counselor, like, I think you and your husband could benefit from talking to him. He has 100% success rate. And she's like, great, now I have to find a fake husband. And she ends up asking her friend to do it, but he's like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Have my brother do it. And his brother ends up agreeing. His brother is retired. He's retired very young after he sold this app, and he's always looking for something fun and enriching to do, especially when it comes to working on his improv. And then during this interview, they end up accidentally agreeing to go to this marriage boot camp, essentially. So they have to make it through the whole summer pretending to be married and pretending to like have a marriage on the rocks. It is so fun, and honestly, I love when romance books don't just focus on the romance. It focuses on like the actual people within the romance. And like a good chunk of this, first of all, like there is spice in this, but it doesn't really happen until the later half. It really gets into Scotty's like anxiety and the fact that she has so many trust issues when it comes to relationships. And she wants to get past that, especially with Wilder. And it's just like seeing their connection grow, how they grow as people, and the marriage boot camp aspect, chef's kiss. It is so unbelievably fun and cute and summery. I ended up reading this in the wintertime because I was doing a 24-hour romance with reading vlog, which should already be out. So I ended up reading this then, but I do think this is the perfect summer romance, if I'm being honest. The next question is the best sequel you have read so far in 2026. And for that, I haven't read a lot of sequels, but I do think these are the best sequels. Any book in the Veronica Speedwell series. This series is about Veronica, and she's recently lost her caretaker. So she's pretty much on her own, and then after the funeral, like pretty much first thing, she ends up almost getting kidnapped. And she runs into this guy, and he's like, hey, you need to come with me. I can't really tell you what's going on, but I need you to come with me so that I can keep you safe. And he ends up leaving him at his friend Stoker's house. And then something ends up happening to the guy that originally said, like, hey, I need you to come with me, and he dies. And now, like, in the first book, they're trying to figure out what happened and who wants Veronica dead and why. And it takes off from there. Every book is a different murder mystery, or a different, not necessarily murder, but a different mystery that Veronica and Stoker end up solving together. And it is a very, very slow burn series, which I said before, like, I'm nervous about, because I want to love this series so much, but I'm nervous that if it's too slow burn, that I'm gonna fall out of love with it, because I'm just gonna get irritated that they're not making any progress. And I have heard even in the latest book, they're still not making the progress that we all want. The next question is a new release that you still have not read yet, but want to. And there's probably a lot of these. The one that I could think of is Yesteryear. I have a hold from this on the library. Yesteryear is about this woman who is basically a trad wife online. And then she ends up getting transported into the past, where she realizes that she is not as equipped to be a trad wife as she really thinks. I'm so intrigued by this plot. I do have it on hold from the library, but it was like the longest hold list possible, so I'm still waiting for that to come in. And hopefully I'll get to read it soon. Like, I could just buy a copy at this point, and if I get impatient enough, I might, but I'm gonna try to hold out for the library copy. Biggest disappointments, I have two. Not that they were bad, just not what I was expecting. The first one is the Twisted Wonderland series. It is a manga series that is supposed to follow different, like, it takes place in a school, and each like house is a different Disney villain. The first one is the Queen of Hearts, and it's not that it's bad, it's just not, like, it doesn't have as many of those Disney aspects that I was looking for. I'm still going to, like, continue on with the series and maybe even watch the anime, but we'll see. Also, Blue Sisters. Again, not that this was bad. This one was about three sisters. They recently lost their fourth, and it's supposed to be about their grief. Mainly, like, to me, it just felt like it was more a book about their all addictions and how each of them deals with addictions. Yes, it is mostly in terms of their grief, but it just felt more like a book about addiction than a book about grief. And I was disappointed because I had heard so many people say that they were crying. I have a sister. I love my sister with my whole heart, and like, if anything happened to her, I would be absolutely devastated. I just didn't feel like this book 100% got that, at least in the way, I don't know, I just don't feel like it 100% showed that level of grief in the way that I expected and wanted. Like, I wanted to cry when I read it. I didn't cry. Biggest surprise of the year. Actually, okay, so I got this book from a little free library, from a blind date with a book. And I literally had no idea what to expect. I was honestly, like, the cover's cute and all, but I just wasn't interested in it. But I picked it up because why not? I didn't just want to like take it off my shelf because I spent the money on it. And that is Game On. So the place that I went to that did blind dates with the book just did drawings. I've talked about it before. It's Trident in Boston on Newbury Street. They just do little drawings, and I think the drawing was like a little heart and a video game controller. And that is how we got Game On. And this is about our female main character, Samara, and she has an online persona. She streams, but nobody knows who she is. And she basically calls out this gaming company saying, or because there's like this hidden scene that basically is very misogynistic. And she makes this whole review about it, this whole rant review. And the guy who runs the company is immediately on it. He is immediately like, absolutely, that is not going to fly. And he talks to her and says, hey, I want to hire you to help me and make sure this doesn't happen in any of my games again. I will not stand for it. And it's an immediate turnaround. And she's very hesitant about it because she likes to keep her gaming separate from her real life, because if you are online, like it can lead to hate raids, it can lead to doxing, and she's very protective of that because of something that happened in her past. But he's like, listen, I promise nobody is going to know it's you. We will keep the identities separated. I just want to make sure that I'm doing what is best for my company. And it leads to a possible romance from there. I loved this book so much, not just the romance and the relationship, and how Aaron steps up and is not afraid to admit that his company is in the wrong. I loved the messages, and reading this, I'm like, I hate having a fiance in this space, because I love my fiance very, very much. I love Benson. I like literally, they're on this channel all the time. I'm just like nervous because of things like this and how outspoken they are about everything. And not that I'm not proud, I am, but like this really brings light into situations that have and will continue to happen, because the internet makes people very, very bold. And sometimes that boldness translates into the real world. And I want Benson to read this so bad so that we can have these conversations. It's just such a good book. The next one is a new favorite author. And while I have authors that I definitely want to read more from, like Meghan Quinn, I can't say for certain that I have a new favorite author. Maybe Diana Raybourn. But even that, like, I've only read from the Veronica Speedwell series, so I can't even say that she's a newer favorite author. I want to give more chances to Christina Lauren, because while I did like The Unhoneymooners, I've talked about that before, I didn't love the third act conflict with Ethan, and it kind of made me not like dislike the book a little bit more, but I did enjoy The Paradise Problem by them. So I don't know, like I definitely have authors that I want to read more from, but I can't call anybody my favorite, like my newest favorite author. And then we have newest fictional crush, and I actually have a couple. I've been reading a decent amount of romance this year, but like Wilder from Till Summer Do Us Part, obviously Stoker from the Veronica Speedwell series. Honestly, I could probably put Aaron in that category, just the way he like stepped up and immediately admitted his mistake and wasn't afraid to like communicate that with her. This is not a surprise to anybody who has read this book, but like Miles from Emily, like from Funny Story, just like so many good romance characters this year. Oh, and any of the Kingmans from the Cocky Kingman series, the like the Cock Down the Block, or The Anaconda Downstairs, like any of those books. Just any of them. I love them so much. It's great. The whole series about body positivity and how, like, the men really, like, none of them have third act conflicts. Like, well, third act breakups. They do have third act conflicts, but it's never about the couple. I'm like, I love them so much. Honestly, the women in that series too, because they're all badass and we love them and they won't stand for any negativity. Love it. Newest favorite character. I feel like I can't make a video like this without mentioning what everybody else is talking about. The Dungeon Crawler Carl series and talking about Princess Donut. If you don't know, if you've been living under a rock, the Dungeon Crawler Carl series takes place in a world where the world no longer exists. It literally got destroyed one day. However, if you lived during the disassembly of all of our buildings and like pretty much the entire world, you were allowed to participate in this game, and it's basically very D&D-esque. You get put into these dungeons and you have to make your way all the way to the very, very top. However, like each dungeon, you like only a certain amount of people are able to get in, and Carl is one of the ones that is making his way up to the top along with his sidekick, Princess Donut. And Princess Donut is sassy and silly and does have a soft spot for Carl, but won't show it. I love her so much. She's a little sassy, has a little bit of an attitude, and she does take a minute to grow on you, but sometimes that's just cats. I say that as a loving owner of two. A book that made you happy. Obviously, Till Summer Do Us Part made me really happy. Also, Funny Story made me really happy. I finally jumped on the bandwagon and read this book, and I just loved the relationship in this. How cute they were together. This is about, oh my gosh, what's her name? Daphne and Miles, and their exes left them to date each other. Because they were childhood friends. Basically, like, the friend that they tell you not to worry about. Yeah, that happened. So Daphne's fiance pretty much starts the book saying, I'm really sorry, but during the bachelor party that his girl best friend went to, she told me how she felt for me, and I realized I feel the same way. So now those two are getting married, and Daphne is roommates with Petra's ex, and it's like a roommates to friends to lovers kind of scenario, and it's so unbelievably cute. However, Daphne ends up saying, they end up inviting Daphne to the wedding, and Daphne's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll be there with my new boyfriend. And ends up saying that Miles is her new boyfriend, and it just leads to silly, fun hijinks. Daphne's also a librarian, and they're working, she's working to get this huge library event, on the tracks. It's so much like New Girl in a way. I think everybody compares this to New Girl, and I was so excited for it, and I'm so glad. Sometimes you're really okay, I'm all over the place right now, but sometimes when you're super excited for a book, it'll disappoint you. I've had it happen a couple times, and when it gets compared to things that you have loved, it makes you even more excited. But I was not disappointed by this one at all. I had so much fun with this, and I'm really, really glad that I read it. A book that made you cry. I don't own this one, but it's The House of My Mother. This is a nonfiction book by Ruby Frankie's daughter, Sherry. And if you don't know the case, it's a true crime case where basically a mommy vlogger was found to have been abusing her children. Yeah. If you haven't heard about it and you can handle true crime things, I suggest like checking it out, like seeing what the case is about and what happened with it. And Sherry goes into a lot more details of like some, and like actually confirms certain things that like we all kind of suspected. It is such a good book. She writes so well, and while I don't write nonfiction, I do think this is up there, like 4.5, 5 stars. It is phenomenally written. And I listen to the audiobook, so I think that's the route that you should go. I feel like the audiobook is really, it's a great way to consume the story. The most beautiful book you acquired in 2026, I think this might be the contender. Bromantasy. First of all, that use of colors, gorgeous. And the sprayed edges. This is about two friends who have been friends for a long time, and they go, or one of them wants to see the world. The other one is perfectly content staying in the village that he lives in. However, something happens where the friend that wants to stay in the village, Juniper, accidentally volunteers them to go on a quest. He regrets it right away, but Mo's like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And it may or may not lead to some romance and possibly a monster or two. Honestly, I'm really excited to read it. I started it, have not finished it, but it's gorgeous. Also, ooh, these editions that I found at a Boston bookstore of the like myth and legends. We have Egyptian and African. I also have like Polynesian and Korean. I love these so much. They're so cute. They're so compact. They're absolutely gorgeous. I just have, yeah. I'm looking to collect more. Like, I love my nonfiction shelf, or I love the books on my nonfiction shelf, but like, it looks so disorganized compared to like all of my others, and it's just because we have so many different editions of so many different things. Okay, and lastly is books that you need to finish by the end of the year. Honestly, all of them. All of the books on my physical TBR, which are like, or own TBR, which like in the 200s, but all specifically books that are on my currently reading, which I have a few, and by a few I mean 20, like Phantasma. I have The Butcher's Daughter. I have, I don't even know, but there's like 20 on there, and I really need to get to cracking on those. But let me know if you plan on doing this tag, if you have a YouTube channel, and even if you don't, let me know some of the answers to some of these questions in the comments below. Like, have you read anything that just stands out? Like, do you have a best book of the year? Do you have a worst book of the year? Do you have one that surprised you? Just any of these questions, let me know your answers in the comments down below. And let me know if there's any like videos that you want to see from me, because while I love sitting down to film, I don't always have ideas for fun sit down videos. So let me know if you have any ideas for any videos, not just sit down videos, but any videos, any vlogs, anything. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who's a frequent member on this channel. I will leave all of their links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. But until then, goodbye.